All the way from New Zealand?
Yes.
Oh, hello. Welcome, welcome. This is so lovely to see you all here. It just really amps up the masterclass, so I love it. Okay, so welcome to today's masterclass. I will put you all on mute just to sort of um, make sure that the recording records well with the voice and stuff. So today's masterclass is on, this is such a big topic, so I just want to put that out there. It's on self-sabotage, and I, I'm going to go through some things, but I probably will do more videos on this because this is kind of like the biggest reason why we find it hard to achieve our goals in life. It's the thing that can get in the way of getting what we want. So we'll start today with, I'll just share my screen. If you have any questions throughout this session, again, just like write them down, pop them in the comment box. Um, if you can ask them at any time. I'm happy to stop and answer any questions as well. So just do that. So self-sabotage, a lot of people use that word as though our body or our being is against us. It's like almost like we're doing something that's self-hating in a way. Some people feel that way, like I'm going against myself. And the thing that I've learned that's really been interesting is that we actually are not, our body doesn't go against us. So, like anything in this world that's growing, it's always growing and trying to evolve with the best conditions it has. That includes a tree, a plant, an animal. We're not trying to go against ourselves in environments that, if an environment isn't healthy for us, that environment is actually impacting our ability to meet our needs and to be able to achieve what it is that we want. So, self sabotage, I don't believe is actually at the root of it. What I believe that it is it's a part of us that is trying to protect us from the very thing that we want. Because when we were younger, or we created belief systems around, say if I want a relationship that's really connected and intimate and um, loving and caring, that at the same time may, for my protector, it may cause me to feel fear because one, I've never had it before, so it feels uncomfortable and unfamiliar. And two, maybe when I was vulnerable and connected in that way when I was little, it meant that I was met with like aggression, or maybe I was met with some sort of neglect or abandonment. So it was scary to open myself up to that depth. So this is where our protector can come in, and it feels like sabotage, but what it's actually doing is it's saying, hey, I am scared about getting the very thing that you want. So um, so I've gone through that with this slide. It's talking about the thing that will support us to grow and evolve. So usually we're feeling like we're sabotaging that. We're always doing it for a reason when we are protecting ourselves. There's always a reason behind it. And that's why, and I say it later on in these slides, is curiosity is so important. So our fear and subconscious beliefs are actually in charge when we are creating experiences that we don't want. And upon reflection is where we learn about the thing that we've sort of been behaving from. So the belief system or the fear, or so generally it's not conscious, it's subconscious. Sometimes we kind of go, oh yeah, I could see how I did that. But sometimes we're kind of like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why I keep getting the same result. I don't know why I keep getting the same outcome. That's generally where it's subconscious. And that's why diving into it in therapy and that can be really supportive. So if there's a vulnerable, scared part of us that you're trying to soothe and protect, and that's how we use coping mechanisms. So the coping mechanisms that we created when we were young, we did that to soothe us. Whatever coping mechanism we use with addiction, drinking, drugs, from relationships, whatever it is, we're trying to soothe our nervous system. Okay, so everyone has a default coping mechanism. So when I'm stressed, when I'm scared, when I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, you will have an area that you'll fall into. So for me, I fall into the more flight response. If I get really uncomfortable, my flight response comes in and I get out and I panic. That's sort of where I sit. So I've got here some three scenarios that you can fall into. The first one, you feel it, you notice your fear, you speak to that part of yourself, you soothe that part, kind of nurture and reparent that part in a way. So that's where we all want to be, right? Like that we want to be able to sort of meet ourselves to that degree. But then many of us can fall into when we're really trying something different and new and trying to achieve something we've never achieved before, we can become reactive. So we can get panicky and react from anxiety. And, there's times like if you're in the flight response, you come up with excuses and justifications of why you can't do a certain thing. We can blame out in that space too and run away. And then there's the other space of shutdown. And shutdown's more when we procrastinate, or when this one is a bit different though, but shutdown is when we can procrastinate. But another form of shutdown is where we shut down our feelings. So a lot of athletes, I believe, do this. Shut down the way I feel to push through so I can get results. Now that what that can lead to is burnout, because we can be really good at shutting down our feelings so we can achieve something. Now, a lot of people in society who can work from morning till night and make a really good income, but in that hustle culture are shutting down their feelings. And that is where they are sort of functioning from. And that is the push through dynamic. And there's always consequences for that. So the protector. Now, the protector makes decisions from fear. So this is why often, if we don't get the outcome we want, or if we feel like we've self-sabotaged in some way, maybe we're procrastinating, whatever it is that we're doing, it's often from a place of fear. So let's say that I want to build a business and I've got an idea, but I'm procrastinating on that idea. There could be some fear underneath that. It could be, I fear being judged. I fear that, you know, that people might, when I market my stuff online, that people might be really mean to me online, like I'll get trolls, like whatever the fear is, there's always a fear behind our behavior and thinking when our protector comes in. Your adult higher self wants to make decisions from a place of curiosity, growth, and evolution. So anytime you come up with an idea where it's growth based, where it's stepping out of your comfort, where it's evolving, you're evolving, that is your higher self. That is the part of you, your adult self, the part that feels strong, that feels like it can do it. Then the protector can come in very quickly and sort of shut that idea down and create all these excuses as to why you can't achieve that. I don't have money, I don't have the skills, I don't have the resources. And when the protector does that, it eliminates the opportunities for you to be able to see the opportunities. And I've got another slide that talks about our reticular activation system. This is the part of our brain that filters out information. And the reason why goals and intentions and focus are so important in life is because our brain can focus on the negatives, it can focus on the fear-based stuff. If you've had trauma, your brain will go more towards the fear-based stuff because it wants to survive and protect you. So in order to rewire that, we then need to become aware of that part of our brain, the protector part, that will focus on those things because that's all it will see. And when we become aware of that, we can then start to say, yeah, maybe I don't have the funds right now, but what could I do to get funds? Like start to open up our awareness. What sort of opportunities are there? Grants? Is there government funding? I know there's like business government things. Like is there? So we start to open ourselves up to receiving different ways of achieving the goal and looking at resources that we may have. The protector wants to shut all that stuff down because it's scared to step out of the comfort. So it will come in with all kinds of thought, stories, processes. It's very much thought-based, the protector. So I always believe it's like the inner child or the vulnerable part of us. It's the powerless, hopeless part of us. So there's this two extremes. One can be where, maybe we've got an idea, we want to evolve, we want to leave this job, or maybe we want this relationship, whatever it is, or leave a relationship. And the protector might cause procrastination, shut down, and keep you in that situation. The other extreme is where the protector is functioning from fear, where it feels like it's experienced powerlessness when it was young. And then the way it functions is by doing and creating an external world around it that feels powerful, like status. And I'm building this world that's like big and extravagant. And I'm becoming the CEO of a company and building it from a place of internally, I feel powerless. So I'm going to create this external world. This person that gets to that point where they've achieved all the things that they thought would create power and status and, strength, they get to this place and they realize that they aren't happy there because it was this external form of power. So if they would have signals, these people would have signals where they're feeling vulnerable, which they either suppress or repress. And those signals, we need to really look at our vulnerability and our weaknesses so it doesn't leak out in those ways where we try to create it external from us. So that is the example of a CEO that gets to the top but is miserable and doesn't have any connection in their life because they did it from a place of fear rather than a place of community, evolution, growth, connection. So your protector is not always conscious until you explore its experience. So compassion, curiosity, and care. The reason why our protector hides a lot of the time is because if we go towards the protector, sometimes we have to feel things like shame and powerlessness and vulnerability and sadness. And so it can be scary to go towards it. Many people are avoiding going to those depths because of the shame itself. It's shameful to look at me that way because I feel broken. Or so that's the protector again coming in, like those beliefs and the way that we speak about ourselves, or those core beliefs that we might have that kind of stop us from exploring from a compassionate place. Because some people think if I go to therapy, then I'm broken. And so if you've got that belief system, that's the protector speaking. If I go to therapy, I'm broken, rather than if I go to therapy, I can evolve and grow into my full potential, my adult self, and nurture that part of me that feels vulnerable, that feels weak, that feels like it needs some attention and needs to be met. So it's really doing it from a compassionate and caring place. How does a protector show up in relationships? Now, this is very much our attachment styles. Our protector shows up in that, which I talk about. I'll talk into attachment styles in another video more than this, but generally how it shows up. So the first one that we want is communication of how we feel, that vulnerability to be able to be really curious with the other person as well and communicate how we are experiencing the relationship. Number two, the protector comes in and we can be a defender, we can fight back, we can over explain, and then we can leave the situation. So flight response then comes in. And then number three can be we can shut down, and then we need space to process our feelings. And sometimes in that space, we create a narrative. We create a narrative about the other person, about ourselves. So both the number two and three, we're creating narratives about the other person and ourselves. And this is the protector coming in to be like, hey, that person's not safe. This situation's not safe. Get out, get out. What we want to do when we're in that space is acknowledge the protector and the need that would support it to feel safe, and then go underneath to more of a like, how can I communicate from a grounded space? Because when we're communicating from our protector, that's fear again coming in. And often when we communicate or when we take action from fear, it doesn't end well. So the belief systems that are driving the protector, I'll just see if I've got a question here. Actually, I might need to see the questions that once I finish. Oh, here we go, come up. Oh, that's okay, Jan, that you can keep your camera off. So what we have is beliefs driving the protector's decision, and often sounds like I'll be alone for the rest of my life. So staying in situations that are really like hard and maybe abusive as well, that protector can come and be like, if you leave this, then you won't have anyone when you leave. So it's got this false sense of like safety as well. I'm weak, so I can't do anything. I'm worthless. I have no value. No one can be trusted. Now the protector comes in because it's trying to create like, it's almost like trying to make you hide in a way. So if I believe all these things and I listen to that belief, which is generally a subconscious belief, then I'm going to behave from that space. And if I behave from that space, then my evolution and growth is going to be stunted. So no one can be trusted. Everyone will hurt me. So it's the story. The protector generally is the story. So anytime you notice yourself creating a story about someone else without the facts or about a situation and environment, I always say go underneath into the feeling base, because the wisdom comes from the feelings rather than the story. The brain wants to make meaning from how you feel, because the protector comes in and amplifies when we're in fight, flight, or shut down. That's when it gets really loud. So what's the missing information? This is something I do every day. I look at the missing information of my protector, because what that does is what happens is I get a physiological response in my body. And this is maybe in experience with another person. So maybe I've had a situation, a conflict, a tense moment, something's come up, and I notice the story that my protector is telling me, but then I notice the feeling that I have in my body. And often I'll say to myself, there's missing information. Something feels not quite right here. There's something missing in communication. And so I explore and I go into that space and just sort of start to unpack and unfold what might be happening. So without the awareness in our subconscious, we will continue to create the suffering for ourselves. So we really need to bring awareness to when we are thinking, feeling, and behaving from the protector as opposed to from our higher grounded self. So that's where I go into this space here. What part of my personality was created for survival and safety? So Joe Dispenza, if many of you have heard of him, he does a lot of meditations. He wrote some books, but his theory as well is that our personality is created, and we can shift our personality, and we can also shift neural pathways in our brain, and that is all true. So our personality, a lot of our personality is created to create safety, survival, and connection with other. So this is why I'm often looking at the feeling that we have in a situation, how we think, and how we behave. So curiosity, again, I always talk about this. My clients will know that I talk about this. Curiosity helps to get information on why we do the thing we do, so we can make different choices and strengthen our observer. Because the protector, many of us can be so identified with the protector that it becomes our full personality. So I am anxious. So if I am anxious, then I don't have room to know that actually I can also be grounded. I can also be calm. I can also be connected. So we've got to start to observe our process and strengthen the observer, so we can see when the protector's coming in. We can feel and notice when the protector's coming in. What stops us from doing that is suppression and repression. So the protector will come in and we can like, it can be so strong. The protector comes in for also addiction as well. It can be so strong. It will justify why I could have that drink. It will justify why I can't start that business or go for that career and go for that job position. It will justify all these things, rationalize, minimize, deny. So the protector can be quite sneaky. It can come in very sneakily and we can suppress it. If we have this as a coping mechanism growing up because it wasn't safe to grow and be seen and heard, then it's something we just work on and become aware of. That's why it's so good to become aware of your own individual process around the protector. So when we justify and rationalize, so when we're up here in our mind, we are bypassing the feeling and we're pushing it away. So that's what suppression is. We push away the feeling by intellectualizing. Repression, though, this is something that fascinates me, repression, because repression, we don't even know it's there. We can repress fear. We can repress anger. So we can be angry and fearful without knowing. What happens is we drop down to shut down very quickly. So we still go through the process of fight, flight, and shut down, but we drop down so quick to shut down that it numbs out those feelings. So the best thing to do with this is first suppression. So let you look at the parts that are being suppressed. Oh, I'm noticing you're justifying and making excuses. Oh, I'm noticing these things. Once we go into that and the feelings, things start to unfold. This is why when you start therapy, you can also you start to get flashbacks, or you start to peel back these layers and then something else comes up. And that's because you're probably starting to move through the suppressed stuff and then you're moving into the repressed stuff. You're starting to unfold stuff that you've forgotten. That a lot of us don't even remember our childhood, and that's probably a good sign that there's some repression there. The way to work with repression is to feel your body. It's the only way, and this can be the hardest thing. So notice little subtle sensations, but also start with, where do I dismiss, minimize, and deny feedback from others and from myself, from my body? And then you go, and then things start to unfold. So what I like to look at too is how it holds us back from growth. So anytime someone sees in you your strengths and you can't see them yourself, your protectors come in. So other people don't have your protector. That's why they can see you. They see your potential. They see your strength. They see everything, because the protector's not clouding the judgment there. So what you can sort of look at is like, it can be scary to be seen. Where am I scared to be seen? It can be scary to be exposed. Where am I scared to be vulnerable and to show myself, like in an emotional, intimate level? Where am I scared to connect with others? Why is it scary to connect with others? Why is it scary to disconnect from others? Like, what's scary about the disconnection? So that's the fear that can come in. So in order for us to step into what we're truly capable of, it's looking at the fear, being with the fear, nurturing the fear, meeting its needs, as well as moving forward at the same time. I always look at it coming into the middle. There's a part of us that wants to grow and has these incredible goals. And then there's a part of us that wants to stay as is because it's scary over there to meet those goals. So what we need to do is not bulldoze through, but come back and have a dialogue with this part. And just have, what do you need? What do you want? Let's work with together. What would make you feel safe while we're exploring this goal, while we're trying to meet this goal? This is a hard thing for people because we haven't been taught to be this vulnerable and nurturing with ourselves. So curiosity, again, is key for discomfort that we feel in the feedback. So curiosity to feedback that people give you and feedback that you're also feeling. not so much believing all the feedback people give you, because some people's feedback is also from their own activation, so it's important to discern where the feedback's coming from, but to get curious still about how that co-creation happened in the first place. So if I got into a conflict, I'd be curious. I wouldn't believe the names that they called me, or the things that they said and pointed and attacked me with. I would actually get curious of, how did I get in that conflict in the first place? Where did we, what sort of, like, where did we miss each other's information? Where did we misunderstand each other? And so I would explore that over the actual story that's been created, because the story is kind of like both people's woundings. It's filtering through that. So often we can blame others, blame ourselves. Blaming others is more anxious based. Blaming ourselves is more shut down, shame based. Underneath the blame, we're trying to avoid a feeling. So anytime we are attacking someone else, we're actually avoiding a discomfort within ourselves. Anytime someone's attacking us, they're also avoiding a discomfort within themselves. So the vulnerability is what's below the attack, what's below the blame. I noticed when, you weren't talking to me, that I felt really scared and alone, and that made me really sad. And so that's vulnerable to say that. It can feel easier to be like, I can't believe you did that to me. That's so disrespectful. I'm so pissed off with you. That's a lot sort of attacky, defendy, and in that fight flight. So it can be a practice to go underneath. So curiosity means I'm not blaming anyone, and I'm taking responsibility for my outcome from the place of love and care. So it's important to really take that full responsibility for that. So I'll just check in with you all, because I do have a lot of information here. I might make 2 videos out of this actually. So I would love to hear. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I just would love to hear your feedback so far. Does anyone want to share? Like, share with me your experience. Like, what's the first thing that comes up, your experience of self-sabotage or protector? What is that like for you? Does anyone want to share? I know it's a bit vulnerable. No one? I can share mine. Kate, did you want to share? I see you there. I see you. Okay, Jan, what have you got there? You've been describing me through all of this. Oh, Jan, that's so you resonate with it. Okay, you're resonating with the content. Oh, that's okay, Tracy. Yep, go for it. Go for the other meeting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can put it in the comments too. Thanks for that, Jan. Yeah, so it's our protector coming through. So what I would say in that space, and I'll go back to sharing if there's no comments here, is to be so kind and nurturing to yourself, because the protector really, it's like self-sabotage kind of sounds like I'm doing it on purpose, was the protector's like, actually it's just a part of us that's actually scared and just wants that nurturing. So I always say to be really soft with that. um, let's see. Okay, so I've got it on the nervous system ladder. Please pop in any comments, questions along the way, and I can do some coaching at the end. So on the nervous system ladder, what we have here is at the top, say with the protector, I'm going to be open, curious, I'm excited to learn, I'm connected, I'm motivated at the top, like I'm ready for this. I'm ready to start my business. I'm ready to go for that job. I'm ready for this relationship, right? There's optimism, there's hope, there's all that up the top. And then the protector comes in because something scary happens. We get activated. And when we get activated, what can happen is we can be like, oh, who do I think I am to be able to do this? That's crazy. I can't do this. I don't need, like, and also I don't need any help from anyone. I'll just do it myself. But if I do it myself, I need to create a plan and a strategy around it. And then I'll start to, like, so we start to go into a bit of like this anxious panic. mode of like creating structure, but it's more from a place of like, I can do this for myself. We go into fix it mode. And then we kind of like get a bit desperate too in that fight flight. Like, if I pay for this, it has to work. If I do this, it has to work. So we've got this real kind of panic energy, and we give our power out to others. So we're like, you need to fix me. Generally, that's in fight flight. If you don't do that, then I'm not okay. So that's the fight flight space. It can be where we get feelings of abandonment too. Then the shutdown space. Say we've gone through fight flight, now we're in shutdown because we've just like got to a point where things are just really not working. So then we get to like, what's the point? It never works anyway. I don't deserve to invest in myself. It's indulgent, it's selfish. And then we go into like, I'm poor, I never have any money. And so we can go like further and further into this sort of shutdown space. And our mind, because we're feeling that way, it's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy, because then we start to like just go, yeah, you're not that great. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is the point? And then we get worse and worse because our body's shutting down and feeling terrible. And then our mind is feeding it these stories because it's trying to make meaning of how we feel. So that is what tends to happen. I tend to go to, so Sophia, I tend to go to straight into shutdown. Then the stories start coming through. Yep, exactly what I was saying. Find it hard to work out the missing information. Yeah, it's such a good point, Sophia. So when we go into shutdown, looking for the missing information can be the hardest thing to do. So what I suggest when you're in that shutdown is to be very nurturing and call a friend. Call a friend, get some help, therapy, support. This is where in shutdown, we don't tend to want to reflect because our brain isn't capable of doing that. So we want to come back up the ladder first, like that's number one priority, and then go into more of a reflective space. Because the brain doesn't want to reflect at that point. It wants empathy, it wants connection, it wants someone to, how do I do this? Okay, here we go. Someone to speak to, come out of it. It wants a bit of movement. It's got pause. I don't know how to share my screen again. How do I unpause it? Here we go. Oh, I don't think you can. Let's stop share and share again. So this is kind of how the nervous system works. It gets very critical at the bottom, judging self. It's all about how terrible I am at the bottom of the ladder. And in the midpoint, it's more about like how terrible the other person is. We also make excuses and convince ourselves to do it on our own. Like, that's where the flight response comes in. We justify and rationalize. So that's kind of the nervous system space. Let's see. So how does the protector work on a subconscious level? So I feel some. So for some, this is conscious, and others it's subconscious. Now, what does that mean? Feelings, if feelings were unsafe when we were young, we might feel it very quickly, and then we may dissociate or numb out and shut down from our feelings. That's why I say sometimes our feelings are conscious and sometimes they're not conscious and repressed sometimes as well. So depending on what we've experienced. Part of therapy is to slowly bring you back to your body, slowly bring you back to your feelings, because your feelings they're your compass. They tell you so much information. So let's say the feeling comes in very quickly, and then the thinking comes in. So the default thinking before we even get a chance to intervene. And that default thinking will either be from a place of anxiety or shutdown. So it could be rationalizing, reasoning, pushing away. It can be the flight response. So whatever thinking we get, it will be the story. It's generally the story. It's the protector's story. And then we behave from the protector. So we don't sort of stop and go, what am I doing? This is why, like, through awareness, we that's what we do. We become aware of the thinking and not believing it and attaching to it. So we want to create different behavior. So in order to create different behavior, we've got to look at where our thinking comes from, the belief systems, shifting our perspective and changing what we believe when our stories come up. And so we take action from a subconscious place a lot of the time and from our belief systems, and then we get the unwanted result because we're functioning from fear and not the adult self. So that's why becoming aware of your process is so powerful, because you can say, okay, I'm activated. So this is my process when I become activated. Then my thinking comes in. Okay, this is how I think when I'm activated. My protectors come in, and you identify your protector. And then I behave like this when my protector comes in. Do I reach for that wine? Do I flight? Do I, what is my coping mechanism? Generally, that's the behavior. And then the result is the unwanted, stuff. So then we go into this cycle, and we can go into like a shame cycle almost with that. So in order for us to change this process, we really need to start at the feeling sense. Notice how we feel and how that impacts our thinking. Notice how the thinking wants to attach to a story because it feels unsafe. We feel unsafe. So our thinking is trying to make meaning and trying to protect you, and it will go into its default mode. So that's what we shift in therapy. We start to look at it differently, and we start to create safety within the body when we're feeling. We're no longer in that unsafe environment growing up. So we've got to train, recondition, and meet our needs to a place of feeling safe within our body in everyday life. We become activated because things remind us of the past, but we've got to remind our body that it's not the same situation. There's information here, but it's not the same as when we were growing up. Survival. So face the fear. I think that's what that says. I can't see it. Face the fear and I can't see it. Oh, here we go. Face the fear the protector has been protecting you from. Yes. So face the fear that the protector has been protecting you from. A lot of us aren't aware of the fear that we might be functioning from. So once we identify it, we can then face the fear, because facing the fear means I bring it into I kind of take it out of the field. I take it out. And when I say field, it's if we've got fear energetically and biologically in our humanness, our thinking, it's going to be there regardless if we try to push it away, push through, numb it out, dismiss or deny it. So we've got to feel the fear first, so feel our feelings, then actually go into the fear and process that fear, so then it hasn't got this hold on us, because generally fear is the one that it has that hold on us. There's always a reason. So this is why we go into the missing information. The biggest danger to ourselves and others is to not take responsibility of our protector, and that's what creates unhealthy relationship dynamics where people hurt or abuse each other. This is the reason why I do the work that I do, is because I want us all to be aware of our process so we can connect and create community with others. If we are not aware of our own process, we will project it out to others. The way you will know someone's projecting out to you is that you will get feedback from them, and it will hurt a lot. It will sting. So what is happening is they're not feeling okay. So they're projecting their hurt onto you. If we take full responsibility for ourselves, if I'm not feeling okay, my job isn't to hurt the other person in front of me. What my job is to own what's happening for me, and then to express how I feel and ask for a need to be met. If I'm in an abusive relationship, that's not a possibility, because the abuser's not going to meet us there. But if I'm in a healthy relationship, then you want both people in that relationship to be able to meet each other with empathy. However, If you're both in fear response, you both lack empathy. And this is the hardest thing in conflict in relationship with other. So this is why knowing your process, practicing it with each other over and over again, that's generally what needs to happen, is like a practice. But two people need to be in that relationship. It's the same with our protector too. When we have a part of us that we're in relationship with, the way that I relate to myself and my inner child and my vulnerability is the way that I'm going to relate and be there for the other person too. This is why the inner work is crucial to show up in relationship with other. I hope that all makes sense. Okay. Taking 100%. So how do I heal this part? Taking 100% responsibility of our outcomes. It doesn't mean to blame yourself when something horrible happens to you. That's definitely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is when we can look at that experience and take the learnings from it in a compassionate, caring, and loving way, that gives you power, because it gives you information. And that information can reduce the risk of going into another unhealthy dynamic. And that's what the power of reflection is, becoming curious and understand your feelings. Because then when you're standing in front of someone that has similar qualities to maybe someone that treated you really poorly, you'll be able to feel it in your body, and you'll actually listen to it this time because you've processed it and you've got a deeper understanding of why you were in that situation in the first place. I always think reflection can be really powerful in that sense. Strengthen your observer and parts work. So strengthening your observer is exactly what you're doing in this session today. And then parts work is also important, because parts work can give us an understanding of all our parts that are feeling like they're protecting us and against us, to start to really create a dialogue and understanding of these parts. Parts work is around, like when we were younger, we fragmented from parts of ourselves because it wasn't safe to be that person. So some people, it wasn't safe to be sensitive. It wasn't safe to be lazy. It wasn't safe to be expressive and opinionative. So what happens is we will break off from that part, dismiss, minimize it, push it away because it wasn't safe. So in order for us to heal the protector and to heal these parts, we need to start to create a relationship with the parts that we broke off from. They're still there. It's just that they're the ones that are driving us in trying to create these new goals. So in order for us to achieve what we want to achieve, we need to bring them along with us. We need to reintegrate them into our lives. So if I was scared to express myself when I was little, or to have anger, then how do I do that as an adult and bring that part of me back into my life, that need to express? Because if I don't meet that need, then I'm probably going to leak it out in some other way, in some unhealthy way. So that's what that is. Any comments, questions come up for anyone? Does anyone want to be coached today on something? Is it too much? I know there was a lot there. It's all making sense, Jan? Yep. Yes. Is anyone working on a goal at the moment? Does anyone have a goal that they're working on? Yeah, Jan? Would you like, yeah, what goal are you working on at the moment?
Yeah, it's just to get back into my business and have clients come in. So yeah, it's been a long struggle since COVID, actually.
Yeah, right. What sort of business do you have?
Well, body therapies,
Body therapy.
energy healing, and during COVID, I started coaching so I could do some more online.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what you've gone through today is going, oh my God, that's me. You know,
Really?
probably looking for excuses and blaming so many other things for my business not really working and going ahead and getting the clients that I need to make it, successful. So
Yeah.
yeah, So my goal is, to just have my business work for me.
Yes. And what do you find your process is like? So you're like, okay, my goal is to have more clients. And then what happens after that where you're like, okay, I'm motivated today. And then what gets in the way of that?
It's it's been different things. Like I looked after my mum for quite a long time before she passed. So things would start to go really well, and then mum would get sick, and I would be
Wow.
at the hospital with her. And then when she got worse, and I was basically living at the hospital with her, it sort of never picked up from then. Yeah, so but not that I actually used to go. I actually used to blame, put some blame in that area because my sisters weren't helping and things like that. But as you've been talking today, I'm going, no, that wasn't it at all. It's all uh,
Mm,
me and the excuses that I was finding. And now it's been a little bit of my health,
mm,
looking after grandchildren, not
wow.
saying no when I should, so the grandkids take up a lot of time, and when it comes to putting myself out there too, it hasn't felt comfortable to do that for some reason, and so I don't do enough of that either. So it's
Mm.
all me. Mm.
And it sounds like though, like putting yourself first can be feel scary. Putting yourself first.
Yeah, I guess so,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And could be a place to explore of like what would it be like if I put myself first, what, and then noticing maybe the dialogue that comes up if I was to dream into it and put myself first and sort of I'm doing my business and someone asked me to do something and take care of the grandkids, like what would that look like if I was to put myself first and take care of them at times when I can, but like sort of navigating that space.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And what's just coming up now is something that you brought up before, and being seen,
Yes.
being seen. I go, and who me? Well, who am I to, say I can do all of these things, because I do have a lot of skills, but I just don't put it out there. So being
Yeah,
seen.
so that part is like a little scared to be seen.
Mm.
Something that I ask my clients is, so you've got that there. What would, and it might not be ready to come out yet, but like, what would make you feel safer? And just whatever comes to mind, like, what would make you feel safer to be seen and to put yourself first?
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Mm. I'll have to sit
Yeah,
with sit with that,
yeah,
I think.
with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what would bring a bit of safety to that vulnerable part of me that is scared to be seen and has the imposter syndrome, and what does that part need? What would that part say that it needs?
Mm. Yeah, probably what's coming to mind is support from the right people,
Yes,
being with the right people. Mm.
beautiful. Yeah, we try to do it on our own, but yes,
Mm.
support.
Yeah.
Yes, great. And so you can start to bring that into your goal. Okay. So the next step is to get support from other people who are doing this sort of stuff, or support in whatever way that feels comfortable for you. Because that,
Mm.
and often we can break down that goal because that's the first bit that could support that fear space. And that will then create motivation because you'll
Yeah,
have that support there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Thank you. That.
You're so welcome, Jan. Yeah, so welcome. So I've got another question here. Can the same fear keep showing up even though you think you have processed it already? I love this question, Sophia. I just find personally the same fears have tight grasp hold on me. That tends to mean that there's more layers to it. So when we have like a pattern cycling, it means we're missing information. So that's really great question, Sophia. It would just mean like, and I know we've got therapy too. It's um, it's a signal to explore more of it in different ways. So there'll be different ways to explore it. Okay. I'm not sure what your name is because I've just got your Samsung thing there. Hello, Thelma and everyone. Hello. Oh, there you go. Name is Renee. Hello, Renee. Well, I want to thank you very much for covering the protector today. I realized how much I operate my life in this role when I feel hurt, scared, feel losing control. Yes, I see how I self-sabotage situation because I project my own insecurities from a story I created in my head. Yes, I learned my partner how important and repairing is to take time to listen to the version order to understand where she's coming from. Oh, that's so fantastic, Renee. Yeah, great feedback. You're so welcome, Sophia. Thank you. That's really cool. Thanks, Renee, for saying that. Yeah, so this is the protector coming in. My work, I get really passionate about people stepping into their higher selves and the potential, because I know if we can work with the protector and get brutally honest. So like even in the work that I do, I question my like outcomes and I'm like 100% responsible for myself. I will be vulnerable in this because I know the growth that comes from it is just at a different like I've manifested so much in my life because I was so radically honest with myself and my protector. And at times my defender comes in and my stubbornness comes in, and that's my protector coming in. And when I know that that's a signal. So if I get defensive, I actually take a few deep breaths and I'm like, signal that there's missing information. So what the person might be telling me could be half true. So rather than in the past, I would defend and be like, nah, what you're saying isn't true. Now I look at it and go, okay, what part of it is true? And maybe let me ask questions and get curious so I can uncover the rest of the information. And that has worked so beautifully with me, and especially with a work colleague that I've got, that where we're growing together because we can lean into curiosity and the signals that we get with each other. So she goes into shutdown and I go into defender. So we've got to really work together on these signals and not go into the story that happens. You mentioned that a lot of us don't remember anything from our childhood. I completely do. Is there any tips that could help us remember our past traumas, or it's best to leave the past behind in order to create a new reality, not focusing on those old traumas? Great question, Renee. So generally, the past traumas, what I have found is if people are working on a challenge in their present day, in their everyday life now, the past trauma may unfold as we're processing what's happening in the present moment. So I don't go searching for it in session, but what we do is we look at, okay, so I might get a client come in and be like, I'm having some relationship challenges. So as we're processing and feeling into that space and looking at the inner wisdom, my client might get a flashback. They might get a experience that comes up from childhood. And so rather than push that away, because that would be suppression, we go into it in a safe way. I've been trained to do this, into it in a safe way for your nervous system, but also because that flashback that comes up, a memory, an experience that comes up, it's coming up because it wants us to see it, to understand it, and to process it. So it's coming up for a reason. Our body is so incredible. It has so much inner wisdom. It wants to heal. So I always look at it's coming up for a reason. And it's the store, our head, like mind wants to create a story around it because the body may feel dysregulated with that flashback. And what I do in the work that I do is I bring it back to the body because it's like, well, what's the feeling? That's the truth. Our memory doesn't reconstruct accurately. So the memory itself might not be accurate, but the feeling is absolutely accurate. So the feeling you get with that memory is what we process. I hope that helps, Renee. I remember very little of my childhood up until about 12 years of age. Yeah, Jen, that's because of the survival mode that we could have been in when we're children too. I'm similar. I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I haven't had to go back into, trying to find memories. I just look at sort of if I am processing something and a memory comes up, I'll process it that way. But generally, if we've been brought up in chaotic households or in households where we had to suppress ourselves and be quiet, so it's like the household where you can be seen but not heard, those sort of things, we will find that we probably dissociated and went and loved fantasy and sort of weren't really in that space. Or if we were in a chaotic household, we felt a lot and we might have gone into the flight response a lot. So we sort of would leave home to get some relief from the intensity of what we're feeling at home. Yeah, you're so very welcome, Renee. Any other questions? Kate, do you have any questions? I know you've been very quiet there, but we'll finish up soon. I really love this interaction too, by the way. Unmute. Let's go. Let's see if you, there you go.
I'm just observing. I think I'm sort of in shutdown at the moment, so I'll kind of like I've sort of known of all this stuff before, but it's understanding how to kind of do it's a bit difficult at the moment, I guess. But
yeah.
And then it's like when you're in that state, it's really hard to actually see the forest and the trees and what's true and not. And when you're sort of guided by your body feeling, it's like I feel really exhausted and stuff. I think I was in flight the day before last. It's then you go down. It's sort of like you're like, what is going on? Like I don't want to be like this. So it's kind of really hard, I guess. And I'm doing all the work, but I'm still having these experiences. So yeah.
Yes,
and protector's fierce, I guess.
What's that? Say that again.
My protector's pretty fierce, but when you can't see your protector, so it's sort of like, I guess it's the grounding. But sometimes, it's sort of like, Anyway,
absolutely, our protector, and you're so right. The protector can be so fierce. It can be so fierce, and it can take over so intensely. Sophia resonates with what you're saying too. So, but yeah, so when our nervous system gets so dysregulated, it is exhausting. So everything you're feeling it's like that's what happens right when we go into shutdown.
It feels like my feelings are everything at the moment, and I'm like, I've got to get on and do other stuff. But I can't get my head together. Like I've got to pack up a house sort of thing or whatever, and I'm like, I don't have to push myself to do it in the time frame I sort of want to do it in, but I'm just like, can my brain get together and I can just actually get something? So there's a lot of then guilt and shame around feeling these ways, because you're like, I'm getting this done that I meant to get done, and then I'm disappointing people, and so
I know part of your process, so I'm going to bring it in if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So part of your process of the protector is to get things done. It's like I've got to get things done, right? So
like catastrophic.
Right? So the default and the protector's like, you're not being productive today. Get things done. We've got to get things done. So your challenge, and this is why it's so exhausting, is to balance that out. It's like, I know I need to get things done and I need rest and to be able to come back up the ladder. So there's this balance there, but your protector, like the way it soothes itself is by doing. And so it's like, it's a challenge to.
It's constant, I guess. It's like,
yes. Yeah.
Like, rest. No, you can't rest, but I need to rest. And you need to ground. You don't have time for that. Yeah. It's like,
So as you get to know your protector, it won't always be this fierce, just so you know. So what you do in therapy and like when you're understanding your process is you're widening your window of tolerance. So that widening, what happens is your capacity for the protector to come in and to be able to go, oh, yep, I hear you, I observe you, but I don't need to respond to you. I don't feel a certain way. We widen our window of tolerance as we meet its needs in healthy ways. So because you're not turning to alcohol, because you're not turning to different coping mechanisms, that's why it feels so intense. Because you're feeling it, right? And this is in society, we're taught to to distract ourselves from our feelings.
Mm.
So it's a challenge, and we're taught to be productive too. So just get on with it, right? Suck it up, get on with it. Like, we've got all these, like, you know, ways of being. So you're doing an incredible job.
No, thank you.
And I know that it's difficult. Jan, I always thought of the protector as being protective of others. Today has been really eye-opening. It's been great. You're so welcome, Jan. Yes, the protector is there's part of us protecting ourselves as well. I'm glad that you got that insight. Thank you for sharing that feedback. Well, if there's no other questions, I will leave it there. I know I feel like I've opened you up a little bit, cracked you all open a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, goodbye. So yeah, grounding, and I guess the thing to know is that your protector is your vulnerable part. So anything that's nurturing and caring for that part will soothe it as well. And yeah, I always say, like, create a list of things that are grounding, so you can support your protector. But also, this is why I do what I do with therapy, because the protector is fierce, like Kate said. It's a fierce part of us that's like holding on. Sophia, thank you so much, Thelma, for today. Amazing. Oh, thank you, Sophia. I really appreciate that. So enjoy the rest of your day. If you have any follow-up questions, and if you're feeling dysregulated as well, like, and you need some support, please email me and contact me. And yeah, or you can also stay back as well if you need any further support. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Enjoy. I'll see you all next week if you're keen for another topic.
Yeah.
And